Welcome to something you've never seen before on YouTube, a talking head. I know, right? It's crazy. No one's ever done this before, just pointed a webcam at themselves and talked. I can't believe I'm the first one to think of this. Today we're using my headset, which looks ridiculous, but allows me to sound like a morning DJ. Hello, sleepy Los Angeles. It's your morning DJ once again with a perfunctory cup of coffee and a bunch of soothing words for you. I could say anything right now, you're so zonked out. Try not to fall asleep at the wheel. Here's some smooth jazz to make that a harder fight. So today I'm here to review The Fault in Our Stars, a incredibly successful book by an incredibly popular man, John Green. Now, the book itself is kind of a risk for me because it is a young adult novel. Now, all of John Green's books are young adult novels. I think I might be wrong on that one. But the last time I touched a young adult novel was when I was a young adult. 17, I got a book about a World War II pilot. This sounded pretty badass. He manages to get shot down in the 4th chapter and then spends the rest of the book hiding from Germans over this Swiss nurse that took care of him in the hospital, and yeah, it got boring fast. I kind of had this, suspicion that a lot of young adult novels that people freak out about and say are amazing are usually books that are written okay. Like, they're not written very well, but they ply your emotions in such a way that you fall in love with them, and they're like popcorn books, essentially. I'm not going to take the cheap joke and say that's Twilight, because I haven't read Twilight, but I will say, let's be honest here, one book series got so overblown that there is a whole genre in most bookstores now. Go to any big chain bookstore, the 3 that are left, and you will see that there is a paranormal teen romance section. That section exists for 2 reasons: Twilight and True Blood. That's about it. I know True Blood's not really teen romance, but work with me here. Anyway, picking up a book that is one of the higher selling young adult novels and is on several best books of 2012 lists isn't really that much of a risk given how popular it is, and there is a reason for that. The author doesn't talk down to you. Anyone who writes a book intended for a younger age group but writes as if they've forgotten it's for that group is a good writer in my book. The better pieces of work usually transcend what they originally intended for, or their original demographic. The demographic of this book is Tumblr, it seems. Go on Tumblr and spend any amount of time looking up The Fault in Our Stars, and you'll be inundated with quotes and fan art, reviews, and just all sorts of amazing things. Some of the cooler merchandise for The Fault in Our Stars came about because John Green found someone on Tumblr who had made a cool poster. Going into it, I knew the book wasn't going to completely suck, but I still reserved my feelings because I read Looking for Alaska earlier this year. It's John Green's first novel, and that book felt like a first novel, but I still finished it in a day. So, the guy, John Green's style of writing really clicks with me for some reason. He writes as if he is that person. It's in first-person perspective, and it feels like this person's talking to you. You're not reading about that person, they are talking to you. That is something that feels great. So, let's cut to me talking about quotes. It's time to read things from a book. I feel one of the things about The Fault in Our Stars that makes it so lovable is how quotable it is, which is kind of funny considering the other John Green book I've read, which is Looking for Alaska. Looking for Alaska has a very strong plot point involving the main character memorizing dead people's last words. Famous people's last words, I should say. They did die, obviously it's their last words. That book actually had quotes peppered throughout it. They were real quotes too, but they were still quotes, and so it was part of the plot that happened. Still, The Fault in Our Stars is insanely quoted And it doesn't really set itself up to be that. It just happens because the book connects with readers so well. I have a quote to share with you guys, both to give you a sense of how the book feels and to show you some of the ways it connects to me. I've actually got 2 quotes, very short, they won't spoil anything. So before I do that, let me give you a brief summary of the book. The Fault in Our Stars is about a 16-year-old girl who had lung cancer. I'm simplifying that very much so, but just work with me here. The cancer is in remission right now, but it is left our main character, Hazel Grace, very frail, so much so she needs constant oxygen. At the beginning of the book, she meets this guy named Augustus Waters, who is a cancer survivor, and the book is about their relationship, because you've got the boy who lived and the girl who's sick, and never the twain shall meet on health. Obviously, the beginning of the book is about them forming their relationship and whatnot, and one big important part of that relationship is reading, actually. The books play a big part in this book as well, which is all kinds of delicious for me. Hazel Grace loves a book. It's a fictional novel inside of the novel called An Imperial Affliction. This quote I'm about to read is her talking about that book, so tell me if you've now just listen and tell me you've never felt like this about a book in your life, if you're a reader. Sometimes you read a book and it fills you with this weird evangelical zeal, and you become convinced that the shattered world will never be put back together unless and until all living humans read the book. And then there are books like An Imperial Affliction, which you can't tell people about. Books so special and rare and yours that advertising your affection feels like a betrayal. I dare anyone who is a frequent reader to tell me there is not a book like that. A book that you love, but if you told someone else about it, you would be deathly afraid that they would not get it the way you do. We all have that book. The Fault in Our Stars might actually be close to that book for me. It's actually been quite difficult for me to make this review, partially because I don't want to scare anyone away by my lame attempts at telling you I love the book, and partially because there's something to connect to me. Case in point, there's a scene slightly earlier in the book when Hazel is working up the courage to call Augustus for the first time. It would be like the first time they, talk over the phone about, what they've been doing. So she goes outside, and she's trying to think of what she's going to do. She could sit down in a chair, she could stand, she could do whatever. She could go back inside and talk in her room. Instead, I lay down in the grass on the patio's edge, looked up at Orion, the only constellation I could recognize, and called him. That quote means nothing to a lot of people. It seems just like it seems like that's just a sentence that has to happen for her to call him. Except me. Several months ago, I sat outside on a clear winter's night, and I had my cell phone in my hand, and I was in this weird, strange new world, because my entire life before that, I'd been a shut-in, and I had been a social loner, both by location and by circumstance. And I had recently been thrust into the world of college, and there was this girl I was kind of wanting to date, but I couldn't work up the courage to start talking to her in a way like, I'm interested in you, let's go out, talk, whatever, all that. So I sat there in my yard, and it was nighttime, and I looked up, and right above me, there's Orion, and it's the only constellation I know. And that constellation, which has been there my entire life, gave me a sense of an anchor. It worked as an anchor for me. This constellation has been there for thousands of millions of years, and it has been there my entire life, and I've recognized it pretty much my entire life. And this thing is going to get me through this. So I sat there, and I stared at those stars, and I called her. And I do not regret it one bit. That cannot have happened to many people. That is such a specific scene, and there is no way the author of this book knew that was going to happen. But I can tell you for a fact, because my Kindle is, a piece of the future and all that, I can tell you that at On Friday, February 22nd at 4:32 p.m. Central Time, I fell in love with this book. Let's talk about the negative. There aren't that many negative points, but I do have a couple to make because I like to keep things a little balanced at least, even though I'm obviously just gushing about the book at this point. Alright, now there are a few things in this book that don't work for me, but as with any review, please keep in mind that this is entirely subjective. There's nothing objectively wrong with the book. It doesn't start using Webding's font halfway through. During the course of the book, several events happen with Augustus and Hazel that give them the opportunity to do some things. I won't say what or how, except that it involves travel, which is risky for someone in Hazel's condition. These events happen in a quick-fire procession, which moves the story along beautifully, and it gets the characters developed at a breakneck speed that I've never seen before where it actually works. Augustus develops as a person, Hazel develops as a person. You see their relationship actually flourish, and it happens in the span of like 2 chapters or something like that. I forget how long. But with that speed comes a sacrifice, and I feel that sacrifice was the believability of some things. I will suspend disbelief for everything. This is coming from someone who reads the Discworld series. Those books require you to suspend a lot of reality. But The Fault in Our Stars has them in a 2-week span going from people living in Indianapolis to international globetrotters, fine dining, museums, learning some of the harsh realities of life back home, dramatic events. The book doesn't take long to happen in real time. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Not that I'm a fan of books that will jump 5 months in the future and not that much has happened, but it exists to give some sense of realism. So, my one big criticism of The Fault in Our Stars is that while it is paced well, I feel some of the physical events that happened could have been distanced a little bit to give me more time, to give the reader more time to get used to them without crash, bang, everything happens, and then you're left breathing heavy wanting a cigarette. That being said, this does lend to one thing about The Fault in Our Stars that I both love and hate, and that's when you open this book, you will not stop until you're done. The same thing happened to me with Looking for Alaska, but that was mainly... But I wanted to attribute me finishing Looking for Alaska, which is John Green's first novel. I wanted to attribute that with the fact that I was a huge Vlogbrothers fan, and I wanted to say I had read one of his novels. Then I picked up The Fault in Our Stars, and the same thing happened, and I realized what it was. His writing style. His writing style does not pander to you. It does not attempt to be above its own station. It does not attempt to talk down to you. It is a real person speaking to you. And since it's in a first-person recount, it makes it feel like Hazel. John Green really did get inside Hazel's brain, and it feels like a real person is talking to you. And as a result, you read it faster, and you want to know what happens. The Fault in Our Stars, when I finished it, I had a sense of despair in that the book was done. And I think that is the ultimate sign that it's an enjoyable read. So now I've told you what I like about the book, there are a couple of things I didn't like, and why I like them. This leads to the penultimate question, once again, should you read the book? There are lots of factors as to why you should read a book, so I can't wholesale say, this is a good book, you should read it. There are lots of different, factors to that, but I will say, I do have a great way for you to find out. As it turns out, John Green did 2 videos where he reads the first and second chapter, and I cannot think of a better way for you to find out if you want to read a book or not than hearing the actual author read you the book. So click anywhere on the screen right now and you will be taken to his video of him reading chapter 1. I would also suggest going to the Amazon page linked in the description and read the summary and maybe some of their reviews, because their reviews are way better than mine. But in the end, I'm not going to give it a score, but I would say The Fault in Our Stars is a very good read. You can check it out. You can check out the score on Goodreads. I have all kinds of links for you in the description. This has been Fiction Friday. I love doing these, and hopefully I'll have more books to talk about in future. That being said, I actually pre-ordered a book today on my Kindle. It's The Boy from Reactor 4, I think, which is a first novel from a nobody artist, which I really can't wait to read, because if it's awesome, then I can actually talk about something new and not, hey guys, I read a crazy popular book that's been out for a year. Anyway, hope you had fun. I hope this wasn't too much of a waste of your time, and don't forget to be awesome.